Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spell Connection with the finale of the Transmetropolitan retro retro comic review series. That's right, we made it to the final volume. Where we left off in Volume 9, the Smiler had basically had the military manufacturer reason to declare the Vita Severn reclamation zone as a state of emergency and basically fake a riot, which would allow them to, potentially speaking, cut internet access. Just as Spider managed to get a story from one of the last surviving, formerly transient prostitutes that the Spider had during his visit to the city. Luckily, Spider managed to get the story up just in time, and during a press conference concerning what was going on in the reclamation zone, the Spider was asked point blank when the last time he had sex with a transient prostitute was. The smile from his face faded. And so we begin our final volume, one more time. Starts off with picking up around where the last one left off, but with Spider rather than the Smiler. The news is reporting that the White House press office is closed following both the president's dramatic decision to enforce martial law in the city and the explosive accusation that the president had sex with a prostitute during his campaign in the city. Spider is trying to get Key, as well as his assistants and his, in this case, source, out of Key's apartment in the zone. Robert McX is asked about his question to the Smiler. Explains that he's not accusing the Smiler of anything. And this is apparently backed up by testimony and unassailable genetic evidence. Spider is not having the easiest time getting his assistants and everyone out of Key's apartment. Key, after all, lives and works there. The formerly transient prostitute doesn't want to go anywhere with Spider. And Shannon, after Spider tries to convince her that it's not safe for her to go anywhere on her own, Shannon does suggest that he just let her go. It's her neck. Lisa explains as she leaves that she doesn't like Spider anymore because he stopped talking to her. He got his story and stopped talking to her. He got what he wanted and left. Spider asks why Shannon did this, because Shannon knows that Lisa's going to get picked up, and yeah, Shannon explains how it'll give Spider, Shannon, Yelena, and Key a clear run out of Key's place. And yes, Lisa gets taken down shortly after leaving. The brain damage Spider deals with is flaring up, and they have pursuit. Spider, however, manages to become clear enough so that he can shoot one of the pursuing cars. It crashes into Satan's Army recruiting center, and, well, yeah. And Spider has Key turn on her computer, explaining that he's only going to be able to get out what he's going to say once. He suggests she go that she head to a feed site bad signal. Directory interviews folder C21, paraphrase, I was cloned. Something he's been saving for a while. And he wants her to put it out over the hole while they still can. The city is now apparently under martial law, with military vehicles running rampant as Spider, Key, and his assistants arrive back at Yelena's father's house. And we discovers what it is that Spider had hidden away. An interview with Judith Callahan, in which she states that her husband, the Smiler, now President Gary Callahan, didn't want her in the White House. Which she admits kind of suited her, to be honest. She didn't want to raise their kids under that kind of pressure. And she knew it would make things easier for him. She explains that, she goes on to explain that the Smiler never had affairs exactly, but she knew that he was screwing around, and always knew. She apparently is only telling Spider because he asked, and, well, no one ever asks. And she goes on, she knows it doesn't matter. Presidents screw around all the time. The best presidents screwed around, and it didn't matter. In fact, they were loved for it. She just wished that the Spider would have tried to lie to her about it. Some pretext, some indication that he cared, Because he lies to everyone else. Why couldn't he just lie to her once? He explains how he got the interview. And he explains that he hid away that portion of the interview, adding that he did so because she seemed so sad. And so he gets on the whole and uploads the audio recording from Fred Christ's interview. Military police converge on the feed site, the home of feed site SPKF. Key explains that one feed channel is shutting down every 30 seconds, and the corporate feed sites are getting weird. And she gets a link to Dick Cavett University's student feed site, where apparently they've hacked the campus security system. And there are military police on campus in the midst of a student protest. It's Kent State. And Yelena's father actually says, hey, if that he kind of hopes maybe the military police do kick down his door. He's been out of things for too long. At the university protest, the students are slapping up the three-eyed smiley faces on the soldiers, using handheld makers to print them off. And one of the students with a handheld maker gets shot. And then the rest of the students present are shot. After it's over, Spider realizes there was no order to shoot. Which means to him, either a bunch of professional soldiers freaked out, or they had standing orders for respond with lethal force in case of doubt. At the White House, Robert McX goes to speak to the press, to the press secretary, who, calmly explains that the press room is closed. And McX explains that he's well aware, and that's why 18 newspapers and 9 networks are going to film her giving an explanation for the riot. A shooting of multiple unarmed students by the National Guardsmen that were the president sent into the city. Obviously, this does not make the press secretary happy. It's explained on the networks that Robert McX's regular coverage from Washington won't be covered, and warnings have been issued about dissident activity, curfews, and shoot-to-kill policies in certain districts. Spider's revivalist friend Mary gives a call of Spider, however. And she's been seeing his broadcast from the hole and realized maybe she can help. Apparently, Alan Schacht, she got some pictures of Alan Schacht recruiting the man who would end up killing Vita Severin. And it goes live. Luckily, while Mary is about to be accosted by the military police, she's largely just seen as being, just another fried revival. So the White House is, of course, in crisis mode. Shannon, Yelena, and Spider make their exit while Key and Yelena's father stay behind. When they show up, Yelena's father explains he's Oscar City noted city philanthropist, supporter of the party and government, active on a dozen political committees, and a substantial donor of financial gifts. He has no criminal record, several awards, 3 of which were given to him by presidents, and a medal. He is also finally a television star. He'd like it they could arrest him now, because it will ensure that in a week's time they will all be in a most unpleasant prison with the as he puts it, the militant erection of a career dog fucker deep in their colons. As the story continues, in Washington, Robert McX makes a report explaining that for the first time in his career, he's not broadcasting to his city. because the text of his broadcast, which he was forced to submit to White House staff before he went on the air, was deemed inflammatory to the situation there. His original script dwelt on the questionable nature of the extension of martial law to the city and the White House's lack of response to questioning. And this is brought into note first. The first time he has substantially deviated from the script prepared for the program. It goes on to explain that a long time ago, one writer warned them that the president was a man who believed in nothing except that he should be president. That he should be in charge and nothing else mattered. And they have proof of this, only too late. He basically says, Spider Jerusalem was right about the Smiler all along. And we should have listened. Other sources begin to report that an impeachment inquiry has been sent to the House Judiciary Committee. The picture that Mary sent Spider of Alan Schacht is being further investigated. The FBI is going to investigate the crash which killed the president's family. 18 separate lawsuits have been filed against the president as of the top of the hour. And while the rest of the country is getting all of this information, the city is not. SPKF, they see this and they're not happy. And they go live with all of it. The same thing happens at AM feed. And the word. Riots begin in the city against the National Guardsmen. Citywide news feed shows that yes, there are armed soldiers in the newsroom standing there to make sure that they don't go off script. Fred Christ leaves the transients out to stand against the National Guard. Fred, among others with him, are shot and killed. At the White House, the president and much of his cabinet are leaving. Robert McX asks a question of the president as he makes his way out, basically wanting to know of his hate for the American people and his hate for Spider Jerusalem. Which leads to the Smiler basically leaving the press secretary to deal with the press, while the Smiler himself leaves. The city is burning, while Shannon, Yelena, and Spider look on. And they realize exactly where the Smiler is going. He's going to the city for the express purpose of killing Spider Jerusalem. I believe and so the day ends with the president arriving at the Dante Street precinct. As the rioting continues, everything stops when people notice that, oh, Spider's out and about. And he basically leads the charge to the Dante Street precinct. He's searched by Secret Service. And as he goes in, Yelena and Shannon immediately begin talking to the various journalists outside. The president is, of course, waiting for him. They fight, they argue, and Smiler reveals his grand plan to Spider. Smiler isn't going to shoot Spider. The Secret Service agents are going to shoot him instead. And the Smiler pulls out a pistol, explaining that it will be said that this pistol was secreted on Spider's person. It was somehow missed when he was frisked. Spider pulled it on the president. Spider got blown away. And the Secret Service agents, upon hearing the plan, say that no, we're not doing this. The two agents you paid off are still in the chopper. Going on to add that if the president wants Spider dead, he gets to kill Spider himself. Another one stating that the Smiler is even worse than the Beast. And two of them talk. And Spider reminds the Smiler that he had his smart moments, but he still forgot little things like the first trick Spider ever pulled on him. Spider turns out is soaked in source gas, which is feeding directly to the news crews outside. So everything that the Smiler has said to Spider has been broadcast. Callahan pulls the gun, tries to make the argument of, oh my god, he's got my gun. And Detective Newton walks in, punches the president, and places him under arrest. For attempted murder, and other charges yet to be specified. Shannon and Yelena rush in and find Spider on the floor, unconscious, bleeding. And he explains that it's one last stunt that took it all out of him. He's so tired. The next and final issue begins with Royce passing through the toll booth to leave the city. And he drives up the mountain. He's actually rather impressed with what he sees. Yelena meets him outside. Happy to see Royce. She explains to Royce, however, that Spider's pretty much useless now, and when Shannon was in California, well, she was stuck there alone in the mountains with him. And going on to add that the temptations to say, he tripped up into the oven and all his arms and legs fell off and he kind of got cooked. They're growing food. And they go out and so Royce goes out to see Spider. The cat is also with them. Spider's sitting in the bed, barefoot in the garden. Has to have his cigarettes lit for him because he doesn't have motor control. Turns out, though, that Spider's happy up there. Royce explains that Callahan's lawyer is keeping him out of jail, and he may never come to trial for his crimes, but he's bleeding money. People are saying he could run out of money sometime, and then he wouldn't be able to foresaw legal processes any longer. And to be honest, Spider explains he's glad to be out of news, journalism. He doesn't miss it. You see his hands shake as he smokes. And Shannon takes Royce back inside, and Spider watches, pulls out the cigarettes, puts one in his mouth, and holds a gun up. The gun is a lighter. Turns out, Spider was in that 1% of people that actually do recover most of their do recover from eye pollen damage. And that is where the series ends. Now, there's a sizable chunk left, but most of it is just columns. It's basically supposed to be the books, the column collection, the collected book column. The books collected, or columns collected in book format. And that is the end of Transmetropolitan. What does it say? Spider Jerusalem is the journalist we need, now more than ever. Have for some time, but yeah. Anyway, that's all for today. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.